In this video, I'm going to provide an overview of the Fieldwork manual for Level 1 and Level 2 Fieldworks. If you have any additional questions after viewing this video, please contact me so we can discuss. I'm not going to read the actual manual to you. You can read for yourself. I am, however, just going to attempt to hit the highlights. Here's the table of contents. You can see that this is laid out for Level 1 and Level 2 Fieldworks both. There are sections covering each of them, and then many policies as addendum or appendices added later. This manual is meant to go to both students and fieldwork educators, so there are some sections that are speaking specifically to fieldwork educators and some to students. This section here talks about our accreditation and how it is valid with ACOTE, the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education, and of course South University is accredited by SACS. This is the mission statement of the university, the College of Health Professions, and the Occupational Therapy Program. Philosophy, this is also the same in the student handbook, so you should have read all this. This is not new to you. This is just talking about how we design the curriculum, so you may also read that as you choose. Then we have outcomes. So these are the outcomes that you should see threaded throughout the program. These are also on your syllabi for each of your courses. And these are the things that we're trying to accomplish as we educate you as clinicians. Then we have more specific outcomes, the sequence of the courses that you take at South. This is, of course, the 8-quarter sequence, and you are beginning with the 9-quarter sequence. This manual has not yet been updated, so some of these courses may be a little out of order, or if you're in the traditional day program viewing this video, the courses may in fact be correct for you. Next, there follows a blurb about what each one of the courses is like. Again, this is just so your fieldwork educator, the person supervising you in fieldwork, can understand what you've learned and how many classes, etc. Okay. Then we have some definitions that we're going to go over in the document. What is a fieldwork coordinator? What is the fieldwork educator? The difference between Level 1 and Level 2 fieldwork. Here's Level 1 Fieldwork. Okay, so we are intending to meet an objective that is to introduce you, the student, to the fieldwork experience and develop a basic level of comfort understanding the client needs. You will attempt to create a treatment intervention during this fieldwork, but it is in no means designed so that you gain any level of expertise. It's just a first attempt. Okay, then there are roles and responsibilities of the fieldwork educator, how many students per fieldwork educator there can be on site, what happens if there are multiple fieldwork educators, etc. And then how are they to supervise you, what are the objectives we're going to accomplish while you're at the fieldwork, and then you'll see these mirrored in your evaluation form. This just talks about the evaluation form that we use and how the fieldwork educator can return it to myself or other faculty, whoever is supervising the fieldwork education. Level 1 fieldwork is pass-fail. It is an individual course. You must meet a minimum score to pass, and we'll go over that form shortly. Then, of course, fieldwork educators are asked to keep your information confidential in compliance with FERPA. Next, we have Level 2 fieldwork experiences. There are 2 of those. Of course, there are 3 Level 1 fieldworks and 2 Level 2. Again, similar information provided to the fieldwork educator. What is the goal of the fieldwork? What is the responsibilities of the fieldwork educator? How are they to supervise you while you're on site? What happens if you have more than one supervisor? How many students per supervisor are allowed? Then again, here are the objectives that you are to meet while you're on your fieldwork. What is the evaluation form? We do use the FWPE, or Fieldwork Performance Evaluation. That is from AOTA, and you'll see more information on that as we continue through the manual. You have a midterm and a final with that. Level 2 experiences, of course, are 8 weeks long, traditionally. They can vary from 6 to 10 or even 12 weeks, depending on the needs of the student and the client, but traditionally they are 8 weeks long. The final evaluation must be returned to The fieldwork educator who is supervising the seminar class that goes along with these fieldworks, it may not be returned to the student. After the final grades have been reviewed and you've signed it, you should no longer have that form in your possession. Okay, and that's just to prevent any type of alteration of the form after the final thing has been completed. So you may of course have a scanned copy of the final, and that can be emailed to you. You can have a photocopy of the final, but you may not actually have the final form. And that may of course go away as we're moving to virtual forms in the future. So may not be relevant for too very much longer. Grading, again, level 2s are pass-fail. The students must meet a minimum score, and we'll look at that document shortly. This talks about all of the requirements that we put you through in order to prepare you to go out on fieldwork. As you will see, some of these are required in order to gain admission to the program, and others are things that you accomplish during the fieldwork. And this is just, again, an overview so that sites know what's already been completed when you come to them. Excuse me. Then this is about how we match you with fieldwork sites. And I'm going to spend a few minutes here just so we can review some talking points that are important. Typically with level 1s, there is not a selection of choice. If there are multiple sites, depending on the experience, you may be allowed to preference, but you also may not. Oftentimes students just go to the same level 1, and that is provided for them. Once you have signed and confirmed your fieldwork placement through the fieldwork placement assignment form, that is considered finalized, and any changes afterwards have to be done in writing and may be denied by the fieldwork educator. You are not to contact the sites. If you have a site that you want to work at or that you want to have your fieldwork at, you may let the fieldwork educator know, fieldwork coordinator, the faculty member at South, know where you would like to go, and they can get in touch with the site and establish a contract and get you scheduled. Students may be required to commute greater than 1 hour for fieldwork placement. We do attempt to keep you within an hour. We do want you to be on a reasonable schedule, but that doesn't always happen. The furthest out that students have had to travel thus far on a daily commute is to Franklin, and that's about 1 hour and 10 minutes each way. But there may be instances where you might have to go through the tunnel to the other side in order to complete your fieldwork experience. So just be aware of that. Students can have a placement canceled or terminated due to unprofessional behavior. If there is unprofessional behavior that takes place at the site, either the fieldwork site, fieldwork educator, or the fieldwork coordinator, the faculty member at the university, may cancel your placement. Okay, so this is just, again, reinforcing that we do take professional behavior very seriously. Typically, students will not take the same fieldwork site for multiple experiences, and students are not allowed to have placements where they currently work or where any family members are employed. This section here just talks about the fieldwork educators and gives some definitions of what they need to do. Okay, professional behaviors, you should see this mirrored in your self-assessment. This is actually provided by the Government Employment Office and talks about what are the requirements in order to complete the job description. And so these are multiple items that you'll see that are required for yourself as a student. One thing that I do want to point out is lifting and exerting yourself in order to lift 250 pounds is required. I do just want to point out here gross motor skills, the ability to stand for 30 minutes or push up to 250 pounds. If you are not able to comply with that requirement of the job description, you need to let someone know so that we can discuss accommodations or alternate placements. Attendance is mandatory. If you happen to miss a day, and the only reason that you should miss a day is because there was an accident, a death of an immediate family member, or that you have a fever and are told to stay home. In the event that that happens, you must contact the fieldwork coordinator, faculty member at the school to let them know of the makeup plan within 48 hours. A second absence from the site is grounds for dismissal. Students should not be late. Students are required to work holidays and weekends if their fieldwork educator works those scheduled days. You may not have your cell phone in the clinic. It may be used in the office or in a space away from clients, but at no point in time should you be on the internet when you are in front of patients. Dress code, the same dress code applies when you're on your fieldwork site as would apply in person at the university. However, fieldwork sites may require you to buy specific uniforms for attendance at their site. I know we have one that requires a blue polo shirt be worn at that specific site. Evaluation forms. So here is the evaluation form for while you are on your fieldwork. You can see here that here's the evaluation form for your level 1 rotation. You can see it's just about 2 pages long, and you get scores 1 to 4 and must have a minimum score. But there it's things like follows safety precautions, interacts appropriately, demonstrates cultural sensitivity, etc. Pretty basic form there. I'm going to skip this. This is just introducing an alternate form that we're not currently using for this experience. And here's the fieldwork performance evaluation. You can see that there are, let me see if I can increase it. You can see here there is fundamentals of practice, ethics, safety, etc. Being able to describe the philosophy of occupational therapy, using evidence-based practice, etc. You can have a copy of this form. It is provided in the manual when you download it, so you can look at it yourself. There is a minimum score that is a 70 at midterm, and then there is a minimum required score to pass the fieldwork. Accommodations are typically provided through the university. However, accommodations may not follow you into the fieldwork site, especially if they have to do with lifting or extra time. Students often think that having extra time on assignments will translate to having extra time for documentation and notes, and that is not the case. Sites do not have to provide extra time. It's not a real-life work situation, and so students really need to focus on getting up to speed with documentation. Your site could possibly be canceled. So just so you know, here's the cancellation policy. What happens if the site cancels? What happens if you have to cancel? And what happens if we as faculty decide to cancel based on behavior or based on an inability to perform on the site? This talks about what happens if you were to get dismissed from a site, and there are some criteria laid out for what that should look like in the event that there's an issue at the site. Then there is a form where you evaluate the site. This is to be completed while you're on your fieldwork site and then returned with your final performance evaluation. And this just asks basically about what you did at the site, what types of tasks, what types of diagnoses, what types of things did you address, etc. It's multiple pages. All right, and then the rest of these forms are for the fieldwork educator, just documenting that they have a valid license and that they're prepared to serve as your fieldwork educator. So this is just a basic overview of what is included in the fieldwork manual. Again, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to any faculty member or your academic fieldwork coordinator with specifics. All right, you guys have a great day. Thanks.